Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 3 of the King's Court. I am your host, King George, and I am here with my co-host, Mandus Buckle, and we are talking about what has been going on in the men's physique division. Mandus, how you doing?
I'm good. First off, let's clear up. I'm definitely not as cool as you, George. I don't ordinarily wear glasses inside. I had eye surgery. I had eye surgery not too long ago. There we go.
You know I'm coming prepared. You know what I mean? I ain't going nowhere without mine. Now I'm going to let you roll, though.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not as cool as King George. I just had eye surgery, so the light's a little sensitive. So I got these on for another week. George, man, you know, a lot has happened since the Arnold. There was a Spectrum show out on the West Coast last weekend. Fantastic. So Spectrum is they put on a great show all the time. Ted Williamson and company. And there's a lot coming up. The meat of the season is about to happen. There's a lot to be talking about. Let's kick it off with exactly what happened this past weekend out on the West Coast.
Well, Xavier took home the win, followed closely by Jumanji, and Dean took third. You know, it was a lot of comments, and people had a lot to say about, you know, the 1-2 or whatever. A lot of people felt like Jumanji could have won. A lot of people felt like, you know, Xavier's won, who obviously did win. And, you know, I seen it, and it was, you know, it could have went either way, but my preference, I liked Xavier's. He was a little bit tighter than me. I just liked his overall package, and I agree with what the judges decided. Jumanji looked great. He was full. He was conditioned. And it could have went either way, but they decided to go, you know, with Xavier's. I think Ding looked great, too. He was sharp, you know. So top 3 on that show was sharp. It's like you said, it's a great brand show. And, you know, it's letting you know that guys aren't playing because those guys were in shape.
You know, is it at that point when you've got athletes that are that close, unless you're there in person, it's really hard to tell because you're literally splitting hairs between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Guys of that caliber, they're right in the same mix. Everyone comes in condition. It might even be the difference of seeing and noticing something during their transitions. So we can't pick pictures apart. It's hard to look at videos. Knowing the judging panel and crew that's out there, I mean, they're Olympia judges. I don't think there's much for anybody to say there. You know, if you thought that's how it went, pretty much that's how the judges saw it go. Again, first or second, if for everyone wants to win.
Yeah, true.
But again, the difference is probably could have been a quarter turn somewhere from the front to the back that we didn't notice that they saw something at that point.
Yeah. And the judges, you know, they pick who they pick, and you respect their decision. You know,
absolutely.
You know, so the internet is always the internet. You know, all the experts on the internet.
All of
them. Yeah, they're always gonna have their opinion. You know, but hey, the show always goes on.
Just like us, all we have is an opinion ourselves.
Yeah.
Be honest.
So upcoming, we have about 4 shows that we will talk about. I think it's Salt Lake, City Limits Championships, Pittsburgh Pro, and the New York Pro.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of heat. You know, those are it's a lot of points, a lot of variables going on, man. How do we what are we to expect?
I think we're coming into the meat and the potatoes of the season here now. You know, the March kicks off the Arnold, which is the second biggest show in the world. It's the only Tier 1 show. And then, you know, the rest of March and into April, there's not quite as many shows. And you have, like, the Spectrum was just out west. Then you've got Utah, the Salt Lake City show that's coming up. And that's quietly building to be a really nice show. First of all, it's a great destination to go and hang out. All of you guys in the Midwest and the East Coast and in the Southern region, if you've never been, Utah's beautiful country. You know, so that's seemingly starting to pick up as a trendy show. And then you got Dre Dillard's show is always huge because she puts out big prize money. Yeah. And there's something going on down there. There's something about guys wanting the keys to that city, as guys say. there's a pride there.
Yeah.
And then you follow up with Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh and New York. They're both tier 2 shows. They're both as big as it gets. You know, you're talking about the hometown of bodybuilding now, Pittsburgh, followed by really the second biggest place bodybuilding is New York, and that's, you know, Steve Weinberger's show. So if you really want to know where you stand, if you're now an upper echelon athlete, you'll be doing Pittsburgh, New York, and expecting to be in the top 3. If you're there yet, you're just not there yet.
Yeah. To touch on a little bit of the 4 shows, Salt Lake I did last year, and I agree with you. You know, snow-capped mountains. It's just I'm from the Midwest, you know, so I finally started to, you know, compete on shows on the West Coast, and I can say that, you know, I've liked it. It's definitely a well-ran show. I believe it has an expo.
Yes. Yeah. It's a Robin show.
Yeah, they had dunk contests and everything there last year, you know, so it's definitely a great ran show. Dre Dillard, City Limits, is a great show, man. She's a great promoter. The energy is great in the building. Everybody supports each other, and everybody does want the keys. I got a pair, you know what I mean? So it's just a good show to do, man. Like I said, I like it just because the energy, the love is there, the love for the sport, and the support that Texas has. You know, you can feel it when you're there, you know, and they do it big in Texas, and it's a huge show, you know. So Pittsburgh speaks for itself, you know. That's the you know, that's the Pittsburgh Pro, you know. So it's the cream of the crop. And if you show up there and you get a win in Pittsburgh, you know, that's pretty much solidifies you as a legit player. And New York is the same thing. You know, it's the second most prestigious show, or second or third, or whichever one you may have it. It's a show that if you get one New York Pro, if you place top 3 in the New York Pro, you know, it lets you know, once again, you know, that you're a legitimate player, and you're not just, you know, blowing smoke up your ass, you know. So I agree that it's the meat and potatoes of the season, and a lot of things are going to shake out, you know. So guys look like they're on their horse, you know, so we're going to see.
You know, now we're talking about Pittsburgh, New York, and again, the meat of the season. We were talking about where are they, you know, and so let's bring up a couple names just right off the bat. In a previous episode, we talked about guys that are not currently qualified that everybody expects to be at the Olympia, but they haven't hit the stage yet. Are they going to show up at Pittsburgh? Are they going to show up at New York? We're talking Akeem Scott, talking Chase the Boy. These are some well-known, successful athletes.
I think Shabazz.
Sharak Shabazz. Yeah.
I don't know. Akeem, last time I seen him, he was doing a flagpole. Nah, Akeem, you know, he's a hard worker, man. You know, he's never really out of shape because he's a calisthenics guy, you know, so I don't really know what his plans are. I know he was, 8th last year at Olympia. And, you know, he came on the scene. He made a name for himself. So it's yet to see. You know, last year at this time, he was, you know, top of the points list. You know, so things change within a year. I don't know what his strategy is. As far as Chase, we seen Chase get set up, and he was cooking. And then, you know, for his own reasons, he backed out of the Arnold, and he hasn't really stated, you know, kind of what's up next, you know. So I don't know. You know, everybody has their plan, I guess. And if we're playing cards, I'm not going to show you my hand. So it's kind of hard to see. But we're just asking, like, you know, it's kind of getting into the, you know, the grind of the season. So, you know, guys better lace them up.
Absolutely. You know, and we know Akeem's finish last year at the Olympia. To him, that was a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for a rookie season to finish that well, he's expecting to build on that. So, you know, I think we're all waiting to see where he's at. We hear some unfortunate things that happen with Chase the Boy, but it appears that he's got his head on straight and makes the right decisions. Very evidently, he's a family guy. You know, when it's family first, so people could say what they want about an athlete, and this is their job, and this is what they do. but that's a young man who has decided that family is always going to take a priority. And as long as his sponsors and the companies he works with are okay with that, I think he's going to be just fine. We're just waiting to see when he shows up, you know, because other guys are out there working. When Akeem and Chase Savoy or Chirac Shabazz show up to the show, they're not handed anything.
Oh no.
You know, so they still have to qualify for this point system. I think it's going to be a little harder than some of these guys expect. If we don't see them by Pittsburgh and New York, they've got an uphill battle to be able to make, not saying they won't, but they have a definitive uphill battle from there.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that, and I would take us kind of into our next thing I want to talk about, and that's like, what are some mistakes you make when you're first starting out? You know, and I would say I think that people don't plan things all the way out. You know, so I think that you need to take in consideration all variables, knowing that, okay, if I don't do this show right here, then that'll put me behind the 8 ball for, you know, the season, like we were just discussing. I think that's one thing. And with that, you get someone who is on the same page as far as, you know, strategizing. You know, if you really don't know what you want to do and the person that you're working with is just like, hey, we're going to hop in this big, huge show, right? We're not really established. We're going to see where we are. After that show, then where do you go? It should be like, you know, well, we're going to do this show, and then we're going to do this show and this show. And here's the strategy behind it. You know, when you do that, I think things work out a little bit better.
Yeah, I would say that the first thing I would say to a young competitor, and first let's define a young up and coming competitor. We're talking about what, somebody on a national level, an NPC athlete. Maybe they're doing their first couple of national shows, or they're a national level athlete becoming an early pro. Is that kind of we're looking at guys range?
We can just go because, you know, it's just like the NBA or something. You know, you can get drafted in the NBA. That don't mean that you're gonna play. But there's guys, Zion Williamson, right? One in the whatever, he's gonna go right and lace them up and be right out there.
Right.
You know, it's recognizing whether you're just a guy who just made it to the league and you need to go, you know, develop like a JJ Redick. You know, he was killing in Duke, but as far as the NBA, when he had to learn how to put the ball on the floor, and he developed himself into being, you know, a great NBA player. If that's you, you need to recognize that. You know, put your pride to the side and say, hey, I need to do this. And of course, if you're Zion, go out there and, you know, do your 360s.
Yeah, I would say the first thing young up and coming athletes need to do is find a coach. Find a coach that there is a fit for them. Find a coach that's credible. Find a coach that has gotten people to the level that they want to get to. And if they decide to go with a slightly more inexperienced coach, it better be somebody who's a really good fit and they feel that they can grow into the sport together. And then you've got to give that person at least a year and a half and 3 or 4 shows.
Yes.
You know, but that would be the first thing I would say to every young athlete out there. Go get yourself a coach, because there's things that you need to learn. There's game plans. There's muscle maturity. There's strategy. There's things that you can't look in the mirror and figure out all on your own, nor should you want to put all that on your plate. So that would be the first piece of advice that I would give somebody. The second thing is check with some of the veterans in the league and find out some of the things they've done and haven't done, and plug in and learn and realize that this thing is not going to happen overnight for you. You know, there's guys that have put in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years into the sport. So your 1 or 2 or 3 years is nothing in comparison to theirs. So be patient.
Listen, I was just about to say patience. There's lessons in the struggle. You know,
correct.
You have to have that patience in order to learn the lessons you need to learn. So when you do experience success, you know how to keep it.
Mm.
And it's just understanding that. So get with somebody who knows what they're doing. Put your work in. Be patient, and when it's your time, capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Um, Last thing is, how important do you think posing is?
Wow.
I can tell you about that. You can pose your way right on over there to the
You
side. You
can.
get in the middle, pose over. So it's
George,
very important.
we just experienced this at a tier 4 show, the Kentucky Muscle, this past year. There was a first call out. It was you and two other guys in the middle three.
Mm.
And by the time you guys were done with your second turns, one of those three guys found himself all the way on the far outside.
Mm.
He literally has posed his way out of a second or third place finish. And I think he finished 6th or 7th or 8th in that show that particular weekend. That just gives you an example of how important posing really is. That many placings you can try because the physique was there. They loved the guy's physique. He was, again, it was you, him, and the person who finished first. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, and I think that's not knowing your body. You need to know your angles and what poses look best on you. I think that people look at people who win shows and they think that automatically that pose that person's in
Right.
is them. And that person may be 5'7" and you're 6'3". It ain't gonna work for you.
Right.
You know, so you have to find out what your angles are, where you look the best, and how you do that is you hire an opposing coach. So it's just it's very simple. I think that people want to cut corners, and if you look at any sport or anything like that, you have a coach. If you're baseball, you have a pitching coach. Football, you have individual coaches. You got a head coach. You got a strength and conditioning coach. So why do they think this is different? Why do they think that you can just cut corners? So
how often do you practice posing, Joy? Is it daily?
Oh yeah, I'll practice. I'm hitting the mirror, especially if like right now. I didn't like a couple things as far as how I was presented in pictures that I took, and so the only way you can get better at anything and make it natural is just to do it over and over and Marshawn Lynch, over and over and over, and that's what successful people do. They go psychotic in their craft. So if you're a person that really wants to win and you're putting your time in, then you need to put the work in and go psychotic to make sure when you're up there, you're not even thinking about it. You're nailing it. And that's the only way you get confidence is through repetition.
So. And there's so many good posing coaches out there. Besides, I mean, you can go down a list of athletes yourself, Andre Ferguson, Brandon Hendrickson. Then besides even the athletes that are great posing coaches, you've got some of the best posing coaches, like Kenny Wallach. So there's a lot of options out there for sure for people to reach out to. Don't skip it. It'll show on stage. George, I'm really excited about the guests you got coming on. Wow, this is going to be a big deal here.
Yeah, I might even got something up. Hold on, let me put my shades on. I got something up my sleeve.
Oh, boy.
I have to pull something extra out for you guys. Hold on. The money caller. Hold on. We got to take a commercial break. The money said we had to take a commercial. When we come back, I got a special gift for you guys. Y'all stay tuned. And we are back from commercial break. I told you guys we had a very special guest today, but I didn't tell you we had two. Right now we have Logan Franklin and AJ Sims. How you guys doing?
What's up, guys? Doing all right?
Doing good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Logan, happy birthday, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
How you feeling, man?
Doing good, man. Just turned 28, feeling alive. Really hyped up, ready for my transition to Classic. So,
okay.
28. Wow. So you got a good 8 to 10 years left in the tank, man.
Hey, I think I might have longer than that, man. I'm fresh.
You very well may have longer than that, but the way guys are going after it now. Logan, what made you make the move to Classic after one show? You know, you were in first call outs at the Arnold here. Usually you would do something like that in the off season and come out and change your division. You came out, did the second time show you could. You were in the mix, you know, and now all of a sudden you make the transition. What happened with the time there?
Man, you know, I feel it's time, you know. I mean, I love men's physique. You know, I love, you know, being able to be on stage, you know, look like a model, you know, all that stuff. You know, I felt like it fit my personality, you know, a little bit. But at the same time, I felt like I'm hindering myself. You know, I wasn't showing, you know, everything that I had to offer, you know. Yeah, I had to pull back a little bit, you know, especially on my leg training. Not able to show my legs, you know, show my complete physique. I always felt like I looked better posing than I did resting. Like my muscle looked better moving than resting, if that makes sense. And
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it always affected, like, I guess, my placings as you know, I progressed through, you know, men's physique. You know, as you got higher up, you know, a lot of the guys at the top of the game, you know, whenever they sit there, you know, they turn around, relax, their backs look crazy. You know, mine looks crazier whenever I'm hitting a shot, not whenever I'm just sitting there in a relaxed rear lat spread. So it doesn't help me, you know, being in a division that I can't, you know, show my potential. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, you know, we've competed against each other many years. You know, you got a great men's physique career. You know, you've gotten better and better each year. But, you know, when I seen you pose with Steve, you know, some of the things that you were saying, because a lot of people say that they're going to move over to Classic.
Steve Loris, right?
Steve
After
Loris,
the Arnold.
Sorry. Yeah, just
Steve Loris.
Classic Physique guy, took second at the Arnold.
Great physique. The guy looks insane. Really good guy.
You know, people say a lot of things, but to see it visually really changed my mind. It really was like, look, this dude can be a legit, you know, Classic Physique guy. You know, so I'm excited to see, you know, where it goes from there. What are some things you're gonna do different as far as, you know, training, dieting, or, you know?
Training, man. You know, I always thought that I trained really hard. You know, I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. You know, keep the intensity high. Work on a few focal points, you know, things that I feel that I need to bring up. My coach and I are already, you know, working on that. You know, I feel like I want to bring my back up, you know, width, you know, from the front especially, you know, more development in my arms, you know, upper chest fullness, you know, little tweaks, and just keep perfecting my craft, man, and just keep coming in better every time, you know, keep getting in shape, and you know, hopefully, you know, we'll roll the dice and we'll win it. You know?
So AJ, coach of Cement Factory, what's up, man?
What's up, brother?
And you've been on fire for
you guys
that
for having me
here. Jeez. Let me ask you, was it after we saw Logan posing with Steve that made you guys say, hey, it's time to make the change, or, you know?
Yeah. Well, that was a big factor, but the whole time we were in Columbus, days leading into the show, whenever I would look him over, it was always bodybuilding poses. I wanted him to hit bodybuilding poses, showing his glutes, everything, to show me the true condition that he was in. So while he was going through these poses and, you know, side chest, rear double, front double, I was like, man, I think we got something here. You know, obviously we need more size, more density, thickness, roundness to the muscle, but it's there. You know, the bones are there, so to speak, you know? So the foundation is there. Now we just continue to improve on it because, you know, the hardness that he had when he posed was different when he would just sit on his abs in a men's physique shot. So he, as he was stating, it was holding him back to an extent. And I was enjoying looking at him pose bodybuilding classic shots rather than his men's physique poses, to be honest with you.
Okay. Now, Logan, you know, when we interviewed at Tampa last year, you flat out said in that interview, I'm moving to Classic. So I think a lot of people were anticipating maybe coming into the season as Classic, but it appears you were ready to make this. You've been ready to make this now, huh?
Yeah, I've definitely been, you know, on the edge of the decision for, about a year now. Since the Arnold Classic last year actually was whenever I really wanted to, start making my transition. But, I just felt after a few months, or after a couple months of me, working, and just looking over my physique and studying myself and studying the top guys in the division of Classic Physique, I just felt like I needed a little bit more time. I'm still young. Like I said, I just turned 28 today. And, a lot of these guys are in their mid 30s, except for Chris. I mean, Chris Bumstead, he's like, maybe the guy's like 24 or something like that. He's young, So there's a few exceptions like in his case. But, the majority of these guys, they're in their mid 30s. And I just, I felt like I needed a little bit more time. And, this last, year, I've managed to make a lot of progress, just, continuing to do what I do, better myself. And I think I'm ready. I feel that I'm ready. I'm really confident. I've got supreme confidence right now, just trying to stay level-headed and keep working, keep my head down and keep working.
Hey, AJ,
Yes, sir.
tell us a little bit about you. We always hear about your athletes. You produce great athletes. Condition is always frying. We hear about the carrot cake. For people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your coaching style and what separates you from other coaches.
Sure. Yeah, because I like to stay under the radar, man. I like to just kind of put my athletes in the spotlight and just do my thing. On Instagram, I never post pictures of myself hardly because it's all about the athlete at the end of the day. For me, my story started back, I started competing at 13 years old and was fortunate enough, my mom moved me out to Las Vegas in 2004 to pursue bodybuilding. So I was fortunate to grow up with Jay Cutler. He was my training partner for 4 or 5 years. So I was training with Jay Cutler through his Olympia reign when he defeated Ronnie Coleman. And I was around a lot of the greats from the 80s, Tony Pearson, Frank Hillebrand. A lot of people might not know those names, some may. And I learned a lot from those guys. And I was sponsored by Muscle Tech at the age of 17 years old. So I was the youngest guy ever signed by a company back then. And, I competed all the way up to about 24. And I decided, you know what? I don't have the genetic superiority to have a shape. I was always getting in condition. But I knew that I didn't have the structure to be a good pro. So I said, you know what? It's time to focus on my athletes. I stopped competing. And for the last 6 years, it's been just about the athletes. As far as like what maybe separates me from most, for me, it's more about the eye. I'm a very instinctual coach. I mean, if you ask Logan, I changed his diet almost every day the last 5 weeks before the show, based off how he's looking, his feedback, where his weight was. And I do that pretty much with everybody. So I start my day at 3:30 in the morning with check-ins coming in, changing people's diets every day, every few days, and it goes all the way up till 9 p.m. at night. So it's a 24-hour job. I know Mandus knows this because he's a coach himself, great coach at that too. So it's stressful, but it's a very rewarding job, man. I love it, and I have a passion for it. So, that's it in a nutshell a little bit.
AJ, we've seen some huge differences in athletes that have come over to you. Logan, you were with somebody for a long, long time, and
yes,
you were doing okay, but I think you were always one of those guys where everyone said, wow, there's so much potential here. He's never quite hitting the mark, and it seemed like there was maybe a 2-year span where there was limited improvement. There was improvement, but it was limited. And when you made this move, it was exactly what you needed. You needed to always come in a little harder, a little drier, a little tighter, a little full. You accomplished all of that in a short period of time.
Thank you.
What made you finally make that move over to AJ? I know there's a couple other guys that have been with him and that are with him that you're close with. Was that the deciding factor?
Really not necessarily just being close with, other athletes that were, working with him at the time or still working with him right now. It's just seeing, his product, seeing what he does, what he does with people, looking at Sadiq, for example, the way he looked at the 2016 the 2016 Mr. Olympia, how he looked, and then the way he looked at the 2017 after he worked with AJ. And I remember seeing that difference and just going, wow, that's what I need. Like, I need someone to give me like that. And I know I have, the work ethic, I have the drive, the discipline. You know, I'll follow the diet, 100%. So I know a lot of the times it's not really what I'm doing. It's really just what the plan is. The protocol. What that. A lot of people will say, you look insane 2 weeks out, and then somehow I managed to lose it, and then I don't look the same on stage. And that was just, man, you don't understand how freaking frustrating that is. Whenever this is everything, man. This is everything to me, and my passion for this sport, trying to be the best in the world. I can't keep falling short, and disappointing myself. Disappointing, fans that are looking up to me, that are wanting me to succeed. Anything. It's really hard, falling short. And I'm a sore loser, and finally I was able to reach out to AJ, and back in October, shortly after the Olympia, and I was like, hey man, this is, I introduced myself, and I showed him who I was, like what I've done, what I look like, and he was like, hey, yeah man, we got to hit the ball, we got to hit the ground running pretty much, and I think we pretty much did just that. It was our first prep together, so we had a lot of things we really needed to kind of like figure out. Like he needed to figure me out for our first prep. I also went through, for like 5 weeks, I didn't take a shit, man. No bullshit. I was.
No pun intended.
Hey, Logan, you was full of shit.
Man, I'm not lying. I was looking really, really good in December. It was like right around Christmas time. I was way ahead. I probably could have been ready 2-3 weeks out from that point, and then I started taking a supplement, called Heather's Tummy Fibers, and it's just a supplement that's supposed to help your GI tract, digestion, and it just binded to my body wrong, and it took me a few weeks to figure out what was causing me to not be able to take a shit, and man, I'm telling you, that was the worst 5 weeks of my prep, or any prep that I've ever had.
You're poisoning yourself. It's internal poisoning after so long.
Oh man, it was horrible. It was
colonics, right?
Yeah, dude, man, I tried everything. I tried colonics. I tried every over the counter drug, man. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I almost went to the hospital because I was like, I can't deal with this no more. And then finally, I figured out it was the Heather's Tummy Fibers. We pulled it, and then within a few days, it was like the first week of February was whenever it was like cleared up, and I was like, oh my god, thank you. We had
4.5 weeks.
Yeah, we had about 4 weeks, to really, get back on the game, get back on the ball, and just start cruising into the show. And I think me just not quitting what I was doing and just pushing through, like even after having to deal with all that stuff, staying on the diet, making sure I was doing my cardio training sessions every day, as if I wasn't dealing with that problem, and I just worked through it, and I'm so fucking glad that I did that, because the way I looked, it paid off for sure. But
so what's the plan? What's the show? When's the debut gonna happen?
We're doing Tampa, man. We're doing the Tampa Pro. Yeah, I want my sword, man. I won the men's physique show last year, as you might remember.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big pro show. I think there was like 40 plus guys in the class. So it was awesome. It was a great show, but I want to go there, and I want to be the first guy to ever win a pro show in 2 different divisions. Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure nobody's done that yet, and I want to be the first guy to do that, and then do it at the same show at that, so that's my goal right now, just taking it one day at a time.
Hey Logan, for younger guys who are listening right now, listen to the passion that he's speaking with. This dude's been competing almost as long as me, and he still has that fire, and he's still setting goals. Also, pay attention to the guidance that he's getting, the experience. This is a recipe for success. So a lot of you guys who just want to come in and instantly have success. Number one, Logan, we didn't start up at the top. You had to work your way up. And then as you keep competing, you evolve and you start making better decisions. You say, hey, maybe that's the look I need to go for. And you make those changes, and then you continue, to work hard. Gotta go, man. Definitely appreciate having you guys on. AJ, you provided a lot of information that I didn't know. Logan, I love your passion, man. I know you're gonna do well because you can
Thank
hear
you,
it in your voice. You know, there's no lies in your voice. Definitely, once again, like I said,
George, I got one last question for these guys before they go. So Logan, you win the Tampa. You going to the Olympia this year? Or you guys gonna wait one more year?
Oh man, I'm not waiting for shit, man. I'm going straight to the Olympia.
There you have it. Logan Franklin planning on going to the Olympia as a Classic Physique guy this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There we
Coming
have
for their souls, man. I want it. I want it.
All right, cool, guys. Once again, thanks for having you. This is the King's Court, where you only get all the exclusive information. You guys stay tuned for next week, and you already know, long live the King.
Long live the King. Appreciate it, fellas. Take it easy.
All right, guys. Thanks for having us.
All right.